So come see my garden, and today we're going to look at what a yucca looks like with a few years of growth on it. I have another video on my channel of yuccas when they're only a couple of years into the ground, and as they get bigger you can actually self-clean them from the base upwards, as you can see, and then they become this absolutely striking height in your garden. But what you've got to remember is it's all about the size of the block of land that you live in, because they can grow to be enormous, and trying to remove them is a bit of a challenge. So what you need to decide is how many do you actually want on one plant. So I decided here that I would have just 3. So every so often, as you can see from down here, they have little pups grow, so we go along and we just cut them off. Same as here, because I don't want any more of this plant to be bushing out. I actually want it now just to grow for height. So we've taken all the pups off. As you can see the size of those bulbs there, and this is how yuccas survive, by storing water in those bulbs. The thing is, if you let too many of them into your garden and they get carried away, it's like having to dig out trees. That is rock solid down there, so be very sure before you plant them and take the time to look after them and move the pups off them, that you actually have the space, and this is what you want it to look like. So mine is growing next to a cashew nut tree, and if you actually look at the big stems on them, they're not growing straight up. Now a yucca will go straight to the sun, so if there was no tree in the way there, that growth would have gone straight up. But because it was under the shade of this beautiful big cashew nut tree, it's actually tilted itself to the side in order to get to the sun. So yuccas, this one's about 10 years old. They're called Sentinels of the Desert because they live without water, because the water is actually over time stored in those big bulbs at the bottom. I particularly love them. Just make sure that if you're going to plant them in your garden, that you have the space and you keep up the maintenance to them. But aren't they magnificent? And they have a magnificent flower. I hope you enjoy them. I really do.